historically, corporate travel always worked as a disconnected set of tools where a traveler was accessing them, right? A traveler today accesses booking tools separately, then expense tools separately, then he goes to the finance teams use their own tools, right? Every single user inside this corporate travel ecosystem uses all disconnected systems, and then they try to glue it, right, as a post-math. But then this is a perfect problem for MCP to solve, because MCP is a very standardized protocol where it enables agentic AI, right? Agentic AI to access multiple systems and bring a seamless experience to the end travelers, right? So today, if a traveler in an enterprise is using, let's say, for example, ChatGPT or Claude, right? He just asks a question, to the assistant. The assistant then reaches out to the right tool, which is then exposed by the MCP built by TripGain, right? And it seamlessly combines all the information in a single piece. That is the beauty of MCP. And for finance teams, if you take, for example, because the traveler is using the same MCP tools to book his travel, right? The spend data flows seamlessly into the system, which means the finance teams, they get real-time access to all the data. The finance team themselves can ask questions and get things done seamlessly on the same enterprise systems, which their enterprise has actually signed up for. Another thing is that today, if you look at the assistants, AI has become so capable, right? But then the enterprises are lagging behind in implementing a solid travel and expense solution because of the access problem. MCP actually fixes that access problem, and it is possible today because of the advancements in AI. Very capable models from Claude. We talk about Fable 5, we talk about Opus, then you talk about GPT's 5.6. So all these capable systems actually talk over MCP, and MCP actually delivers the experience to the end traveler, end finance team, the travel managers. They all use the same system. In fact, I would go on to say that in the next 12 months or so, you would start seeing that a lot of these enterprise systems will not have an interface, right? Historically, every interface, every app today, if you look at it, they look all the same. They have these big forms. There is a very steep learning curve. Imagine a 20,000 employee enterprise who wants to implement a sophisticated travel and expense solution. Today, it takes about a year to implement it. But then with MCP, they've already have access to assistants which are much advanced, which means the learning curve is absolutely zero. So they can get started within a minute, right? They just open it and they just ask it, and the AI assistant in combination with MCP get things done instantly. This is a very personal journey. I mean, like if you look at the journey of TripGain, right? TripGain started off as a modern travel and expense solution for enterprise customers. And when we said modern, we wanted to reimagine the way travel and expense is done back in 2018. At that point of time, the first problem that we faced when we approached these enterprise customers is that we are tied up with, let's say, a large TMC, and we have a vendor lock-in with the TMC, but then the problems are that the prices are not very competitive sometimes, although we have corporate rates enabled on the TMC. If you look at the end traveler's experience, the travelers always use Google Flights, for example, or they used Skyscanner, for example. So they had access to all the information, all the inventory which was available on the internet. But then when it came to the TMC part or a business travel solution, they were limited by the ability of the TMC to deliver that content. So we thought that this model won't scale. I mean, like, it's not solving the problem which the end traveler is facing today. So we first addressed that part by integrating multiple travel vendors onto a single platform. And we said, look, there is no vendor lock-in. These are the 100 large suppliers that we have onboarded. And then you have the best available content as well as the best available pricing on a single platform. So that's the first problem we solved. So we said we were the first marketplace for business travel. So that is the first problem we solved. And then when when we were scaling up, and we found that every single enterprise, whether it is a mid-enterprise or a large-sized enterprise, everybody had their own policies, had their own workflows, had their own set of exception workflows, and so on and so forth. So you can't really standardize that with a small tool, right? So we built a very open system in attacking that problem. So any enterprise for that matter, whether it is a small, mid or large, can actually use TripGain's open system to design the workflows which they are comfortable with, right? So that is the second problem that we solved. And the third problem we solved is, of course, the expense and reimbursements. So reimbursements are always a pain even today, right? So when a traveler incurs an expense while he's on travel or non-travel, right, it is a pain for him to submit the expenses, and it is a pain for the finance teams to validate whether it is the right expense, whether it is in policy, whether the traveler has gone rogue, whether the traveler is submitting a duplicate bill. We solved that with sophisticated machine learning models back in 2020. After we did all this, we truly believe that we built the foundation layer. So once we built the foundation layer, we were ready to actually tackle what the users were experiencing when interacting with TripGain's web portal or a mobile app, and so on and so forth. Then came the big breakthrough of AI, right? ChatGPT launched in 2022, and everybody were just asking and getting. So that's when we thought we should build AI copilots for travelers and spend copilot for CFOs. So in an AI copilot, basically they ask and get things done. And in spend copilot, the CFOs just ask, okay, where are we losing money? How many bookings are out of policy? You know, how can we better negotiate with the vendors? Are we filing the returns for VAT, GST, and so on and so forth? But then, in under 6 months of our launch, in fact, we launched the AI Copilot in Focusrite last year in November, and in under 6 months, we saw unprecedented demand from the users asking for more because of the sophisticated models that have been launched, which means that the users were far ahead in terms of usage of the AI. We were actually falling behind, right? Then we decided that I think we should tackle this problem head on. We should launch an MCP. This is the right time to launch an MCP where we give the control to the travelers or the end users. It can be a CFO, it can be a travel manager, it can be a traveler or an HR, to build their own workflows on top of MCP. So this is a natural progression for us, because the DNA of TripGain is to be very close to the user's problems. So right from the inception, we always try to solve real world problems of the end users, right? All our teams have that in their DNA to solve problems of the enterprise customers. So MCP is a natural progression, and I believe it's just the beginning of the future, right? Although I can proudly say that our MCP is very comprehensive. It has about 95 plus tools, which is not heard of till today. If you look at any large player in the market, they have launched read-only MCPs or booking-only MCPs. Our MCP servers profiling, our MCP servers support expense filing, reimbursements, CFO analysis, spend analysis, bookings, cancellations, reissues, everything in one single set of MCP tool set. Most of the AI implementations today, forget about travel, right? It can be any AI implementation. Most of them stop at trust, right? Now, a lot of these amateur tools out there in the market, they just launch it without any guardrails, and then they try and replace the human, which in my opinion is probably 3 or 4 years away. Today, we believe that it is a human plus agentic era, wherein we believe that the decisions or the judgment is actually taken by a human. It can be a travel manager who is basically setting the policies. It can be a CFO who is setting the budgets. It can be the finance department which is setting the exception workflows for expense reimbursements, right? And so that's what it is, right? It's the judgment, the data, and all is set by humans, right? So my recommendation to travel managers and CFOs over the next 12 months is to actually focus on preparing the data, preparing the right set of guardrails, preparing the right set of rules in collaboration with, of course, your HR teams and your users themselves, and make it ready, and also look at where you are actually placing this data, whether this data is accessible to the AI or not, right? So that is the first step that you need to do. The second step is to take baby steps, right? For example, they can actually plug in our MCP server and and only use it for booking, like until the booking, right? The cancellations as well as, let's say, the reissues, they can probably hand it over to one level approver, where a human approver is actually looking at the data and then approving it forward. And then probably once everybody is comfortable, they're getting all the data in one place, the access is sorted, you can go full-fledged, full-blown with 95 plus tools available on the MCP. All right, sure. Where's the card? Okay, it's here. What is one innovation or shift in business travel that gives you energy right now? Awesome. Okay, so this question is directly related to what we launched today at GBTA. This is the thing that gives me excitement, the things that pushes me forward, is that large enterprises today are seriously considering AI implementation and going full AI native with the business travel, right? And I believe that we are ahead of the game, right on time though, and our MCP is uniquely positioned to give the enterprises the outcome that they are looking for, right? So the enterprises today want their users to be using agentic solutions, and we are at the helm of it, enabling the enterprises to go full AI native with business travel and expense solutions.